And welcome back to Insemination, the podcast that is all things donor conceived. My name is Laura High, your chaotic sperm donor baby of the podcast world. I'm really excited for this episode. I know I say that every time, but I really am, because we have an insemination first. Rachel is coming back, our double donor conceived interviewee, and they brought along with them their sister. I am so excited to have them both here. This episode was such a treat. We ended up filming for 3 hours, so this is a two-parter episode. But one of the nicest things about this episode was we just hung out and talked all things donor conceived, the ins and outs. We had Me Too moments. We had, oh my God, I feel this way too. And the entire time that we were doing this, I was just sort of imagining all of the donor conceived people kind of coming together and hanging out as a group and having community. So if you're donor conceived, just please know that I imagined you sitting there with us and hanging out too. And I don't want to take up any more time. All I want to say is please like and share, rate this podcast, because apparently that kind of crap helps. Also, I have stand-up shows coming up. Please check my Instagram at LauraHigh5. My website, www.laurahigh5.com, also has my list of shows. I need to update that. But yeah, let's just get to the episode so that you can come and join us and we can all have fun together. And welcome to the podcast, Rachel and Alex. We have an insemination first. Rachel has come back and brought along their sister.
One of them.
How many do you have again?
I don't know. Depends on how you count.
That is true, because we would like to remind everyone that Rachel is double donor conceived. What was your
DDCP, double donor conceived person. Yeah.
My gosh. Yeah. No, the alcohol is not going to help with that.
No. I already mumbled. I'm like, everyone in the last one is like DT, and I'm like, I mumbled. I'm like, DDCP.
And which of your double donor conceived side is Alex from?
Egg side.
Egg side!
Yay! So we got the full set. That's what I was like so excited about. And I'm like, we got the three of us together. I'm like, we got sperm, egg, both.
Oh my God,
yeah,
we are a complete set.
We are a complete set.
We are. Oh my God, look at us.
So I'm like, these are the reps.
Perfect for like your holiday. Get everything together.
Yeah. Just a little gift package, if you will,
a gift set,
an advent calendar.
Oh, we should put together a donor conceived advent calendar of all of like the triggers you could have.
Exactly. I mean, look, if we do Hanukkah, we only need 8, but like I say, why not go for the 25, 24? Yeah.
I feel like more of it's a bingo card. That way it can be like full of, because it's like, you have your donor conceived bingo card, like who today told you to be grateful, and there we go.
I got that today.
You got that today?
Yeah.
What?
I'm not bad-mouthing him. My partner, I was talking to him. I was like, I texted you. I was like, I'm in my feels because just like the holidays and family. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like weird that, like I'm having some things with the sperm clinic. And he's like, but you should feel so grateful. I'm like, I feel fragile. Oh. He's like, you should feel, not like should. He's like, but you're cared for and loved and all these things. I'm like, yeah, but I still feel weird. I still feel fragile and sort of broken about this whole thing.
Yeah, hot tip for everybody. Like, I know it's out of a good intention, and like people are. I should say sometimes it's with a good intention, because there are donor conceived people whose like recipient parents are like, you should be grateful. Yeah, and I'm like, that's not a good intention. Yeah. But a lot of people say it to us out of a good intention of like, no, but I'm trying to make you feel good. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, just stay away from it. It's bad. It's there's no way to shine that shit.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and it, no matter what the intention is behind it. Like, if there are donor conceived people who do feel grateful, and that genuinely comes from a genuine place, that's awesome. But like, let them get to that on their own if that is what is correct for them.
Yeah. It's also like there's not one answer of how you should feel about being donor conceived.
Well, being donor conceived is complicated. Like, it's a very complex feeling, because it's like there's a lot of I'm feeling a lot of things all at once.
What did I just describe it as? I was like, I feel like it's an unprecedented tsunami.
That's
emotion. Do you need me to get closer?
I need you to love on the microphone a little bit more.
I'm fine.
Yes. Is it not your type?
No, it's too small.
Size king over here.
Whoa! Okay.
Cut that out.
All right. No, we're keeping that in. You will live with that. You are going to publicly live with that comment.
I'm very happy with that. Take a drink to that.
Take a drink. All right. We fucked up there. For anybody who is listening, we are drinking.
We're all over 21.
We're all over 21.
We're all well
legal.
over 21. Yeah.
I think I'm the youngest out of all
You
three.
are.
Yeah, because you're both over. I am the bebe.
You are the bebe.
I am under 30.
I'm like barely over 30. Sorry, Laura.
Sorry.
I was born in the 90s.
I am a 94 baby.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Drink your tea.
Fuck you.
It's an oat milk. It's an oat milk.
That was rude. That was rude, Rachel.
We all know that's oat milk.
It is oat milk.
It is oat milk for my lactose intolerance, okay?
Yeah, and your gayness.
Okay, so just a little recreation. These two were late.
It's not my fault. The bus is late.
I mean, it's the MTA.
No, and I had to get in. So one thing that my genetic parent and I have in common is that we both have said to each other, oh, I just have to move for at least an hour a day. Otherwise, I am insufferable to myself and others. And so I texted Rachel yesterday and I was like, just heads up, like I have to do an hour on the Peloton, not sponsored content, but I'm like, I have to Peloton sponsor me if you want. I have to do an hour on the Peloton before we do this, or else I will not be able to sit in somebody's basement and have a nice conversation because I'm just going to be insufferable.
Yep.
And I was having a conversation with our genetic parent on the phone about a work thing. And she was like, I'm going to have to let you go because, as you know better than anybody else, if I don't walk for at least an hour today, I'm going to be absolutely insufferable. And so it's getting dark here. And I was like, oh, that hit.
I just laugh.
But yeah, so we were late partially also because I had to fit in my workout.
Yeah.
But essentially, you guys went and got coffee and asked me, do you want anything? And I was like, yes. I was like, I would love a lactose-free cappuccino. And then, how did the texting go?
My phone's somewhere else.
Well, I said, I was like, well...
we were like, what do you mean by lactose-free? Do you want soy? Do you want oat? And Alex is like, well, oat, because she's queer.
Well,
and
I said, isn't Laura queer?
Yeah, she's like, isn't Laura queer? She's going to want oat. I'm like, I don't want to assume. She's like, that Laura's queer? I'm like, no, I know Laura's queer. I just don't know that all queer people like oat milk.
And I was just like, yeah, fuck, I want oat.
I was like, this is the biggest stereotype. Like,
I take that stereotype and I run with it. I only have oat milk in my home. I don't have regular milk.
I actually, my secret is that I drink lactose milk sometimes. And because I think it's because genetically.
But are you not lactose intolerant?
No.
What the fuck? God damn it.
I mean, wait, this is weird because my twin drank milk all the time when we were growing up and I don't like it. Which I always thought was interesting. I love milk. I can't drink it. I don't know why. Like I can have milk and things.
Drinking milk plain, no matter what milk it is, I'm like,
same. Yeah.
Because like I think like we all pounded milk as like at least as the elder here.
Okay,
Did you have those
as the elder here? They pound like we drank milk as like that was just
got milk ads in high school. Yeah. With like the mustache.
Yeah,
and I was like,
you were supposed
gross.
to like drink lots of milk every day, and
I just ate cheese.
Also, I mean, my came home from school snack was I would take Tostitos and I would the taco chip, whatever.
Yeah, Tostitos.
Yeah. And I would melt shredded cheddar on it in the microwave, and that was like my creme de la creme.
I love that
snack. So
white people nachos.
It was total white people nachos.
White kid nachos.
I'm sorry, but that to me is an elite. Grade school snack. Like that was.
I used to do that.
And then I would layer it, and so then I would have like the layer, and I was like,
that's how you're supposed to do it. I only learned about like layering nachos as an adult. I was like, you could do that because every time you like get nachos, I'm like, you have a layer of cheese, and then you just pull it, and you're like, what the hell is this?
There's these like dry chips.
Yeah.
No, it's like it's like going to the movie theater, and you're like layer.
It's the lasagna method, guys. Yes. Come on, we gotta lasagna the nachos.
You gotta lasagna the nachos.
It's true. But yes, I drink dairy milk. I think I like my raising mom, my mom, also like. She goes to a restaurant. I'm so sorry. I'm putting her on blast here. She is.
Sorry, Mom.
I'm so sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
I'm airing your dirtiest secret right now. She will go to a restaurant and order a glass of milk, and I just look at her and I'm like, how? Because she's 100% Ashkenazi Jewish.
How is she doing that?
I don't. It's like a different.
It's a
I mean,
magic trick.
It really is, and then like
So she's not lactose intolerant.
I guess not. I mean, like my mom eats more dairy than anybody I know. Actually, wait, no, she totally is lactose intolerant because at one point her
Did
doctor
you just remember?
Yes, because at one point we had to switch to lactaid milk for her. And so now we just have these like I don't go to my parents' house that often because I grew up here. We're in New York. I grew up here. They moved out of the city during the pandemic, like a lot of folks. And so I don't go up and visit them very often. But when I do, there's like the fridge door is filled with like half gallons of lactaid milk.
Hashtag not spawn.
Not, yeah, again.
Not sponsored by Peloton, not sponsored by Lactaid.
Not sponsored.
I will say, like, Lactaid. I have become lactose intolerant in my elder age, and I will take that sponsorship. So we're drinking because we need to recreate, because these two came and saw a stand-up show of mine, and then afterwards we went and drank, and we talked all things donor conceived, and it was delightful, and I'm like, we're gonna recreate this just brunch style. But I do think we need a donor conceived drinking game.
Yes.
So what is the donor conceived drinking game?
Okay, definitely every time that you're told that you're a miracle, like every time you're called a miracle baby, even though you're literally decades old too. Anytime you're referred to as a
Everyone calls us that. I'm like, we're 30.
I know. I'm just a little baby, but also I'm a full and I need to be taken care of. I'm just a baby, but I'm also a full grown adult.
Yeah.
So anytime anybody refers to me as a baby, thank you.
Drink.
Yeah, drink to that.
Okay. What about in our tellings? Like what? Because we have to make a drinking game that we can work for the podcast. So,
anytime anyone just thinks it's cool, I know we talked about this last. I'm taking from the bingo card because I feel like there's a lot of similarities there.
Like,
where it's like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
fascinating.
Sure.
Anytime somebody asks if you're adopted. Because I'll tell this story in full, and they're like, "Wow, that's so cool that your parents adopted you," and I'm like,
that's not.
That's not quite what I was saying.
I mean, it is a half adoption, and many it is, but to call it an adoption is also not accurate because it's like the adoptee experience isn't that not of a donor conceived. Like we have crossover.
Sure.
We high five.
There's similarities.
I feel like we're on the same road, just different lanes.
Yeah.
And
Or
we're
if
all
we're in
just
different vehicles.
Yes, and we're just like, oh hey, how's your trauma today? Oh my gosh. Yes, mine's great. I have to replace the tires again. Who told you to be grateful? Because that's when we all do share with the adoptees. Hashtag fuck grateful.
Good hashtag.
Oh, that should be the merch. Hashtag fuck grateful.
I'm telling you, dude. I need merch.
No, I'm saying this now on the podcast. I have to come up with this by the time this podcast comes out. I'm gonna do it. Hashtag fuck grateful.
Awesome.
Okay, that's gonna happen.
Great. Yeah.
Fuck grateful. Because I feel like that also that can like go on. That covers
it's
like
multiple faceted. Yes.
Like because we can have obviously DCP, adoptees. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who could relate to that.
Anyone really.
I bet like people. I'm thinking about like donor conception in the like same universe of organ transplant. So like I bet transplant recipients also are just like, we're so sick. Like I have some friends who have received like live tissue transplants, and I'm sure that everybody's like, wow, that's so cool, you should be so grateful. And they're like, cool, I'm on immunosuppressants my entire life, and so like life is pretty hard. So maybe they also would be in that.
I feel like anytime like somebody else tells you to be grateful, it's like that's just weird to say.
It's so minimizing of one's experience. Yeah.
Anyone's experience.
Like that it's complex and
because like going through
ongoing.
like an organ donation, obviously I've never received an organ donation, but I would have to assume that comes with some trauma. I would assume that is a traumatic experience.
Yes, I would assume the same.
But like, and I would never like imagine telling like, this is so grateful, and then and also knowing that you're carrying somebody who passed away. Like I'm assuming there's a lot of complexity, and but I do feel like us as humans always try and simplify things, and we always try and color things in a positive light because that makes it easier for us
to digest.
Because God forbid we say
sad stuff.
We say sad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have to be happy about our experience.
We have to be.
That's another one.
Yeah, you
for
have
the
to-
drinking game. Like,
That's another one. What is it?
only be happy about your experiences. Like, why are you upset? You know, like, why are you angry?
You're
why
here. You're alive.
Would you rather not be here?
How many times are you told that?
I've gotten that.
I get
Where
that
I'm
all
like,
the time.
I'm like, you don't want to talk to me about my middle school years because I was so depressed.
For me, it was like my elementary school.
Oh.
That was for me, my rough time was also high school was rough
that too.
in other ways.
Yeah.
Middle school,
I mean, mine was like, I told you I was like, you know, puberty. I was like,
actually, I'm taking it back. But
I'm sorry. I don't mean to just re-traumatize you.
No, it's all
I think every
good.
time I come on, I just make her sad.
No, you make me laugh. What are you talking about?
I love that.
Are you kidding me? For any, I mean, for any of my listeners who remember Rachel's episode, you know, and they're dead.
Still funny.
It is still funny.
fucking
Yeah.
For anyone, yes. Just to catch everybody up in case this is your first time listening, Rachel, when first learning about how old were you when you learned?
I was like 6 or 7, very young.
And when you heard that you were donor conceived from donors, you just automatically assumed that they were dead.
Yeah, I was like, they donated before I was born, and then they just died because no one told me about them afterwards. So I was like, in my little kid brain, I was like, no one told me about them. They no longer exist. They're dead.
And I've never I feel like in that 2 seconds of you telling me that, I was like, oh my God, this is like, I am now bonded to this person. I fucking love this. This makes my, like, I just, like, my little kid inside,
Yeah.
I feel like gave your inner child
inner
a
child?
giant, gave
Yeah.
a hug, going just like, oh my God, we would have been friends. Yes. Yes, I would have thought the same thing.
I love inner child healing. I think that's a big thing about being donor conceived too, where you're just like, you're fighting with your inner child sometimes, where it's just like, I want my mom or I want my dad. And
Well,
it's like,
let's talk about that.
oh, because I texted you this morning being
'Cause you
like, my
texted me
inner
that.
child was sad.
Well, because you're
Yeah.
having some feelings right now.
I've texted, I was like, I'm in my filios today.
Your filios?
My filios.
Your Filios. What is the difference between feelings and Filios? Does it come with Cheerios?
It comes with Cheerios. Okay. Basically, I got a message last night. I'm talking to someone about finding out more about the clinic where my sperm donor's from and potentially finding out more information about him and about, like, where he could have donated, like, how many families, like, more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I found that out. And I was, like, sitting on the train going home and I was starting to, like, get emotional. And I was like, I feel like my inner child is like, this is really heavy. I want my mom. But I don't want my mom because my mom doesn't want to talk about this. But then the person who is my mom is my genetic mom, and I don't have that relationship with her. And so my inner child is like, I want my mom, but I don't know who that is.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I want to know. I feel like I felt a collective
Like,
moment of donor conceived people all getting the chills at that.
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to talk about the irony that I want my mom, considering it's a problem, not a problem, like a thing with my sperm donor. So, like, you know, parental figure,
Yeah.
maternal figure, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm a support in a way that I feel like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's so sticky, you know?
It is, but it's, as we said, it's complicated.
It's so complicated.
And it is about diving into that complexity and being okay with that complexity and being like, and again, it's something where like I talk to a lot of donor conceived people where it's like, we are collectively as a community coming together for the very first time and really kind of going like, oh, you felt this, I felt that, you felt that, you felt, and we're kind of all paving the way and sort of writing the books now about it, and we're all sort of like collectively comparing notes.
Yes.
It's so true. Yeah. I think that like one thing that when you were saying that, it's like what you're looking for is an elder person who is further down the road than you in that experience.
Yes.
To say like it's going to be okay.
We don't have that.
And like, yeah, because of the way that donor
That's you.
conception. I'm only 2 years older than you.
You're still older than me.
all of my like
Go
younger.
fuck yourself.
Yeah, all of my younger
You
siblings.
guys.
Go fuck yourself. I'm not. I'm not dead yet. Unlike you're unlike the imaginary donors, and they're dead.
So I think that like that a lot of the times and I think about this as like a community that is a minority a small community of people. It's hard to find each other. The people who we would look to maybe a generation ahead of us, 2 generations ahead of us, like our parents' age, don't know that they're donor conceived, or there just are fewer of them because of the history of how this all went down. It's a newer technology. Certainly, like as an egg donor conceived person, I'm one of the first live births in the in the first couple of thousand live births in the U.S.
When did egg donor conception start?
I want to say in the early mid 1980s was the first live birth via egg donor conception, and then I was conceived in 91, born in 92, and I think so. I learned
You are in the first batch.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned about the like origin story of how I was born because I was researching this academically, which is a whole can of worms that we can get into.
We're
gonna get in there.
No, but I want us to have like a few drinks in us.
Yeah.
Before
I just love Alex's story.
No. We're gonna tell your story, but I want us to be in the vibe of it.
But anyway, so I think that like you're looking to somebody to say like I've been where you are and I'm years down the road and it's going to be okay. And there's so few opportunities to do that. I had the opportunity to do that with somebody, and I don't want to.
We're not calling them out.
I won't call them out, but it's a donor conceived person who has some level of notoriety, and I had the opportunity to meet this person, and it was really amazing because I got to tell them my story, and I was pretty early on in the process of having met Rachel, having maybe I had just met. Yeah, I had met our genetic parent for the first time.
Yes, I remember your timeline.
Barely. Yeah. And I met this person and I was talking about, I was like, it's just kind of like an adjustment and it's weird and it's hard. I think it's really hard for my parents and I'm having a hard time with the fact that it's hard for my parents. And I said, does it ever get easier? And this person is like maybe like 5 years into knowing their genetic parent. And they were like, only recently after seeing my family, like my son and like my extended family, like our families hanging out, did I feel a sense of peace about this? And they were like, it takes time. So like be gracious and give yourself some time. Like all these things do take time. And in recent months, like my youngest sibling who was raised by our genetic parent, so she's our half sister, actually like called my dad for professional advice. And like my dad's like
I love that.
I know. And my dad's super generous and like loves like chit chatting with her. And like, I don't hear about that from my dad. It's just like part of, he's just like, he's like, I love giving the young peeps advice. And so like our youngest sibling will like tell me that like she called my dad and it was so helpful. And then I'll be like, hey dad, did you have a conversation with this person? And he's like, oh yeah, like it's no big deal. And I'm like, okay, so.
Did we like get lunch one time and you're like, what?
No, they were supposed to get lunch, and then my dad had to cancel on her for a very big client, and she was like, "Your dad cracks me up." But it just like is cute to like see and like
the overlap.
And in the family tree, just for people, it's like hard to track for people who are not tracking this. My youngest sister and my father have no genetic relationship. It just
because you're talking about your egg donor conceived side.
Yes.
So you are connected through the egg donor.
Yes.
So your younger sister is not genetically tied to your father.
Correct.
And you are tied genetically to your father.
You are the hinge.
Your father is, to put it in donor conceived terms, your father is your biological father. Your mom is your social mom.
Yes. Exactly.
Amazing. Okay.
I know, it's so cute.
It's so cute. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to like sort of weaving and
we're still doing the Jeremy Bearimy.
We're still doing the Jeremy Bearimy.
I'm all for Jeremy Bearimy.
We are going to Jeremy Bearimy the crap out of fucking this.
Here's another one. Every time you try and explain your story to somebody and you're just like, I don't even know where to start at this
or
point.
They can't. They're like, wait,
what?
What? Yeah, people are like, wait. Oh, anytime somebody asks if your parent is your real parent. Because I hate that. My mom who raised me, like my social mother, I don't even call her that because I'm like, she's my
Your
mom. She like, and I know we actually had a really good conversation with.
I don't ever refer to like my dad as like my social dad.
Yeah,
I mean,
God,
it's like if I'm like in shorthand talking to donor conceived people, like sure, just to make it quicker.
Yeah.
But like I agree. I don't like referring to like my father as like my real dad.
Or like with I don't like
a real dad.
Well, I'm like with a qualifier. Yeah, like I like.
He's my dad.
Right,
He's
exactly.
Yeah.
And like my mom is my mom, and to me it feels like so minimizing to be like my social mom, and it's hard when we're having a conversation that involves all of the players matters because we were actually talking to.
It is shorthand.
Yeah,
I do think in our circles.
Yeah.
But also just to throw this out there, I do know that there are donor conceived people who really do like the qualifiers, and it does make it easier.
Yeah.
Which is like totally
Also valid.
legit.
Yeah.
Totally valid. I just personally, it makes me feel weird.
Me too.
I don't know why it does, but it does for whatever reason. But
You don't have to have a reason, right?
Yeah. You can just feel weird about it.
I mean, if we're like writing the book, right?
Yeah.
Then if we're writing the book, then we don't really need a reason. We're just like,
I feel like the title of the book is whatever the fuck works for you.
Yeah,
Like, it's like,
being
I don't know,
donor
whatever.
conceived.
It's all valid.
being donor conceived, whatever the fuck you
works.
want.
So Alex,
Yes.
I know. So I always have this conversation. What do you like to call your donor, genetic parent, biological? Like, what?
It's a good question.
We talked about this with
Because
her.
everybody refers to them differently.
Yep.
And I'm just curious. And all again, the theme of the show is all is valid.
Yes.
What do you like to refer?
So I will say that, like, I think that the English, like, we had a conversation with the donor, our
donor.
shared parent about this, because she had expressed that she's really uncomfortable being referred to as a mother by anybody besides her kids and stepkids, and I was like, that is so super valid and like
Legit.
And she and I are very verbose writers.
She wrote us an essay.
She wrote us an essay.
Scared.
Yeah, we both got scared. And I was like, oh my god,
what did I do?
yeah. And it was all
It was fine.
Oh, when you came on my podcast last, and then you got an.
I got a little essay from her, and she's like, "Here's some notes." I'm like, "I really appreciate these notes." Just like things where it's like,
do we need to like edit? Should we right now take the moment to like fix what you said on the last podcast?
oh, corrections corner.
Corrections corner.
We can have a little corrections corner. It turns out that my mother's mother was not the one with alcoholism. It was my father's mother, and I did mix that up.
Oh, okay.
That was my bad. There were some other things where it's like there were things that she couldn't have known about when she donated.
Got it,
like
okay.
her children having things, and it's like, she couldn't. It's more like I feel like this more points to updating your medical history with the clinics, because she was like, obviously you couldn't have known that when I donated, and I'm like, but we still should have known this.
But
I'm like, you're getting to the point of we need to know this.
Right.
But this also it goes on the pile of this is why anonymity is unethical.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's just sort of like we sort of have. I feel like we have two different piles of like this is why we need verification of medical histories, and this is why we need known donation.
Yep.
And this is why anonymity needs to be banned. I mean, I feel like there's so many reasons why we need known donors, and I feel like it's a very wide berth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, and the follow up of medical history is always. People don't realize, because like I'm literally in the comment section of like one of my videos, and I have a lot of parents going like, I have a 10-page document from my bank. Like, we know more about our donor's medical history than most people probably know from a one-night stand.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay.
Well, for now, but
I'm
like,
like,
it's like
You don't
when
know
I
what's
was
gonna happen over time.
Well, like, one,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen over time.
Yeah.
Also, no clinic in cryobank has to verify medical history. It's
Nope.
all self-reported.
It's all hearsay.
It literally could all be lies, and you have no idea. Or maybe all of that is true, but there's another 10 pages that they didn't include
Right.
that could include some
There's
pretty
so
serious
many
shit.
what ifs.
There is, and people don't, and it's not a living document. And
Right.
it's like when you were.
And then there's also the money aspect, where it's like with a one-night stand, I think we talked about this last time, where it's like,
what's their incentive to lie?
What's their
versus-
incentive to lie? But like with a donor, where it's like you're getting paid X amount of money, and then you're also potentially lying.
Well, and on top of which, they're sort of dangling the check in front of you, going like,
Do you want
do
it?
you want it? You have to have perfect genetics because we're based in eugenics and ableism. Blah,
Yep,
blah,
yep,
blah,
yep,
blah. And so they're like, oh, yeah, no, my family doesn't have that. Don't worry about
Yeah, like I got nothing.
it. I got nothing. It's fine. It's fine.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, there is. I think there's also like, when I was listening to your episode, because I knew that you had done the podcast, you told me about it, you told me when it came out, and
I was
I
very
like
excited.
Yes, and I knew that it was like for me going to be like an experience to listen to a story that I am a side character in. I mean, it's a side character in
You
your.
are a main character.
Well, I'm the main
You are
character.
a main character. What are you talking about?
I'm the main character in like our story of like being donor conceived, but like you are like I'm a side character in like your whole double donor conceived person experience, and like I'm the star of my own
Which is a
story.
very
I have
particular.
so many
Exactly.
now. I'm just like, I feel like it's one of those things. I mean, I told you that I'm sort of jealous of your relationship with your parents because I'm like, you were raised by one of your you saw genetic mirroring. I said this to you. Sorry, no, I said to both of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I talked to both of you about being donor conceived a lot, and so I was like, you know, you were raised with genetic mirroring. The first time I got that was it's still 2023, so this year.
Yeah.
Like having your first genetic mirror. I mean, I have a twin. He doesn't count the situation, but like an elder again, like having that maternal paternal mirroring, having that for the first time.
Yeah.
By 30, I feel like is, I don't want to say abuse. I don't want to call it that, but I feel like it's something that a child shouldn't have to experience.
I think that this specifically, and this is, I believe we talked about this on the podcast, but you are in a very specific realm of donor conception where I do think that I would say the psychology of what like adoptees go through is really going to speak to you way more because your experience, and that
and then with them both also being anonymous, they're never gonna meet. We're like rehashing old stuff,
and also like
still,
embryo donation is another like road of it's like a subset. There's so many different
embryo donation is just exploding.
I know.
Right
I was walking on 3rd Avenue and I saw a ad for embryo donation. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is a lot for you know. I was like coming back from like getting coffee. I'm like, it's too early for this.
Everyone always asks me if I'm in favor of embryo donation, and I sort of always say like, by and large, the adoptee community and the donor conceived community, I would again, not everybody, but I would say the majority has actively been like, fuck no to embryo donation because it creates,
just say no.
Adoptees. It creates adoptees.
I was gonna say, I feel like embryo donation is just adoption with extra steps.
Well, it's adoption plus you get to grow the baby.
You're growing your adopted baby.
Yeah, you're growing an adoptee.
You're growing an adopted baby. Well, that is what's happening. That is what I was. Sorry, I'm like sort of realizing this at the same time.
You were a grown adoptee.
Yeah.
And the difference, and again, you know, I wish we had like an adoptee right here.
I know we need the full.
We really need the full
We need an
set.
adoptee here, but the difference is like, it didn't like it wasn't a.
It wasn't made out of love. First of all,
there are differences.
Yeah,
but I mean, you are.
Well, the trauma of being given up isn't there.
Yes, the trauma of giving up is in there.
We're all putting that in quotes.
We're putting it in quotes.
Yeah,
but it's so. But I mean, it's so close.
Yeah, we're passing each other on the highway.
We're passing, but I feel like you're in a whole different lane. Like you're on the line.
HOV.
Yeah,
you are on the literal line.
No, you're driving on the median. Of like the two,
oh no!
Yeah, it's okay. It's like one of the medians that's like free and clear, so you're not going to crash.
Thank you for describing my median.
But a big reason why like I especially don't like embryo adoption is sort of like also why it's exploded right now. A lot of that has to do with banning abortion.
You're kidding. I mean, am I shocked? No, I'm pissed.
Well, because what ends up happening is if you do like IVF in a state where abortion has been banned, and you create a bunch of embryos and you use one of those embryos
to make a baby,
you're not allowed to dispose of those embryos.
Shut up.
You're not allowed to dispose of
Why did I not think about that? Are you kidding me?
No, so you either have to freeze them indefinitely or give them up for adoption.
Which, by the way, is very expensive.
Oh,
like freezing, obviously we know that people
AFAB.
AFAB people know that freezing things is expensive.
So there's that element of embryo adoption. So if you are somebody who is pro-choice, and you really need to look into all of the aspects of embryo adoption, but I think that's a absolutely horrific place for a parent to be in.
Yes.
Is we just spent this money to do IVF, and now we have to make the decision of are we going to freeze indefinitely, give up embryos, which are going to be our biological fucking children,
and then where's that going to go?
Or we're going to spend money on a fucking compassionate transfer. Like it's just it's way like it's why when people always ask me, what do you think about embryo donation? I'm like, it's really problematic, but on top of which there is so little studies done on donor conceived people, especially long term.
Yeah.
Virtually, I mean, like virtually.
fine, right?
We've done studies that are on like babies to be like, oh look, they lived.
Right.
And then my favorite is like, or they've done studies on donor conceived people, but they didn't actually talk to donor conceived people. They talked to the recipient parents, and the recipient parents were like, oh yes, they're fine.
Yeah, they're thriving.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're alive.
And like I have a research background, like a science research background.
What
and,
a nerd.
And yeah, I'm a super nerd.
We
and
love
so
nerds.
We love
nerds.
so occasionally I'll like browse the literature for stuff about this, and like I was actually told that my case was so rare, or like so I was such a miracle that
You were drink.
Cheers.
Nastrovia.
So I was such a miracle that, and I can get into like why that was, but that the obstetrician who created me and delivered me actually wrote my case up in a scientific journal, and I have searched PubMed in every way I know how to try to find that article, and I can't. And anyway, I would love to read it, but. Yeah, there's very little research being done on donor-conceived adults, and it's like,
There's
none.
There's very
like,
very minimal, very minimal research, and in my opinion, embryo adoption is taking double donor conception, which again we know nothing about.
Nope.
There's minimal research getting done on donor conceived people.
Yep.
There's nothing
None.
on
Double
conception.
donor, yeah.
And we're essentially taking adoption trauma, donor conception, and just
Blending
packing
it together.
all with zero research and just going like, okay.
And therapy.
which is wild to me, because so again I have a public health background, so there's a notion called the precautionary principle in public health, where it's like things have to be proven safe. You don't like take things to be safe and then be like, well, they're safe until they're proven not safe. And that's how we do things like most medical procedures, like pharmaceuticals, biologics. That's how those things get through something like the FDA and come to market. For whatever reason, we have decided that we don't have to do that and like I'm sure that all of these procedures that are done, like egg harvesting, implantation, IVF, those procedures were proven to be safe
Like
for
individuals, right?
for the donors and for the recipient parents, which are like the patients, but then you end up with a sentient human being at the end of it, the product, which again,
We're a blender.
Drink to your product.
God damn it. Cheers.
And you get to have at the end of it, which is like unique in the medical industry, because in no other procedure do you end up with like a sentient being afterward.
Not
No,
yet.
this is something where Mel Bornico of USDCC said that on her episode, which I felt like was very, very poignant, was saying there is no medical branch to compare this to.
Nope.
There is no other medical branch that profits off of the creation of sentient beings. There are plenty of, obviously medical branches profit off of saving,
Right.
not creating.
Yes. Right.
Completely different. And
Ooh, interesting.
right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, there is nothing to compare it to. People love to compare us to organ donation. I'm like, it's not the same
not the
fucking
same.
thing.
Yeah, because you're creating.
Well, if I get a transplant, like a kidney transplant, a liver transplant, even like I think cornea transplants are like kind of the gnarliest in terms of like you're getting parts of somebody's eyes, and like eyes feel so individual. Like you have that person's cells in you, but you still have your own DNA. Like
you still have your sense of self.
Right. Like half of my DNA came from somebody who donated. I say donated in quotes also because like we all know that there's a transaction. Yeah, they were paid. There was a transactional component, a big transactional component. And that's where like if you take any cell in my body, half of those genes came from somebody who up until last year I had no idea who they were.
Yep.
And that's not true of anything else, and it's been with me my whole life. It's been with me since like before I was even inside of my mom, right?
Yeah.
Like that I was created in a petri dish, and it's some
That's when
petri dish.
Were you a
test tube.
petri dish baby?
I like how we just all know. Oh no, we're drinking that.
And yeah, so when I think about that, yeah, it seems like the precautionary principle can apply to everybody except for
Us.
except for donor conceived people, you know, and like there's a ton in the medical industry that has been horrifying. And like, if you know medical history at all, a lot of folks get mistreated by the medical industry.
We're not knocking that.
I know.
Yeah.
This is really shocking news to you all. But yeah, it's just like another example of like, okay, so like, why does the precautionary principle apply to everybody in this equation except for the donor conceived person, who was, by the way, the only person who did not consent to be part of this?
Yeah.
Okay, can I throw this out too? Because this is a question I get all the time. It's a comment, and I would love to hear your reaction. Whenever I say that, saying like, everybody else had a say, signed the contract, this was all so intentional beforehand, the donor conceived person is the person without say who is affected the most by the donor conception. The reaction I get a lot when I say that is they're like, well, no one decides to be born. No
I
one
knew what you were
decides
going to say before you
no
said
one
it.
decides that. So like, how is that different? So what would be your reaction to are we having some Felios, Rachel?
No, just like...
That was a Felio face
No,
you were
just
just making. And I just would love to hear, because I react to that a lot, and I would love to hear a different like, I'd love to hear somebody else's reaction to it.
No, my first thought was I was so depressed in middle school, I didn't give a shit.
You're like, no, I didn't ask to be born, and I didn't want to be here.
I mean, even before I knew my donors, I was like, I really didn't ask to be here. Sometimes I like look at my situation. I'm like, I really didn't ask for this.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that there's like nobody asks to be born, and like obviously the human existence is traumatic, and like
we're going into that later.
Yeah. So like, you know, let's like get on the same page about that.
I
So
mean,
like all
look,
that is true, right?
We live on a rock that has fucking snakes. It is traumatic to be here. Okay?
It's hard to be alive. It's very expensive to be alive right now. No one's having.
Have you seen bugs? Have you seen mosquitoes? What the fuck is this shit here?
Yeah, exactly.
No one wants to be here.
No.
Number one. Let's just get that out.
We live in a place that hails.
Yeah.
There's
I mean,
fucking ice balls
I
that
don't.
fall from the sky.
I don't anymore. But anyway.
Okay, well, you live in a place, but okay.
I live in a place where the ground shakes
I was gonna
and there's fire smoke that makes
You
living.
live on a place that just goes on fire every once in a while. Like,
Yeah. So the human existence
sucks.
is tough. And the counter that I would have to people who are like, nobody asks to be born, it's like, okay, but like some people are like, before you're even born, like you're signing this imaginary being who will one day not be an imaginary being up for like.
Are you not imaginary?
No, actually, I am an apparition.
Fuck, I knew it. Is this like a Truman Show thing? Fuck.
I'm just actually a complicated illusion that AI made for you. I'm so
God
sorry.
damn it!
God damn it, AI!
I'm so sorry.
Rachel, I depended on you.
I'm sorry, I'll get another sibling tomorrow.
Just pick one of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have it.
Just start rolling through
Just
them.
pick up one of the sides.
Yeah. I'll just go.
Oh, is this when we should call? We should say hi to your twin.
Yeah, let's say hi to my twin.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
I mean, I want to be like, he wishes he could be here, but I'm like, he's up in Albany. He couldn't get down here fast enough, and you don't have enough chairs.
We will make it work. I tell you what, Ben, if you want to come on the podcast, I will make it fucking work. All right? If you want to come on, I would love to hear it.
It's also okay if you don't, because I know he's a quiet person.
There's a lot of different. I will say, like,
We're very different.
We are very
which I
different.
think is fun.
I met all of the siblings with the exception of one in the span of
two days,
24 hours. Yeah, it was wild. Or 48. I met them over Labor Day weekend last year. I guess, okay, so we got down this road because we were talking about
when people are like, well, no one asked you to be here.
Yeah.
So, and then you were saying...
I just, like, I don't think that signing somebody up, like, for a traumatic like, the creating trauma for that person literally in the way they were created to me feels so, like, there's ways to minimize it. It feels so deeply unnecessary. I'm like, they're gonna, like, there was
it's
enough
an intention.
else. It's
There was an intention behind it.
It's intentional
It's an
purchasing.
intentional. And that's always the thing that I always tell people. I'm like, one, yeah, but how many births involve a multi-billion-dollar industry profiting off of your literal creation? I'm like, one, that's a huge difference.
Yes.
That to me changes everything. But also the fact that all of it was intentional. Yes.
Very intentional,
Very
too.
intentional. Many people are brought into this world in traumatic circumstances, and I will not deny this. In the least bit, this was intentional. That does change it a lot.
Yeah.
And this is...
I kind of want to drink to that because I feel like we're doing that. You were so wanted, but worse.
So wanted. And mom and dad, I love you. I know
love
how
you,
much
Mom and Dad.
I know
I
how
love
much
you.
you wanted me.
I
It's
know,
just
I
I'm
know,
sick of
I know, I
I'm sick
know.
of hearing that you were so wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We were so wanted. But it took 3 years to make me, at least. Very expensive baby. But I joke that I'm slowly making back all the money they spent to get me through all of my stand-up and comedy.
I joke that
it.
I'm a really good ROI for my parents because I got my master's and so did my twin. And so I'm like, look, we're a great return on investment for you guys.
I mean, I would like to say that I'm maybe not a
good
great
ROI.
I'm maybe not a great financial ROI because like I said I do work I've worked in the public sector a lot and like we all know how that's compensated and
But you have fairly good benefits.
I have great benefits. I
benefits.
love
And a master's.
and I do
All
have
three of us have masters.
we all have
which I
master's
love.
degrees.
We're
Yes.
very nerds.
Yes, very nerds. I love my job. I love where I work. I won't say where that is, but
Yeah.
but yes, I wouldn't say that it's a good, certainly good financial ROI.
Sorry, ADHD moment.
Whoa!
Okay, whoa! Can you actually comment on that? Because this brought up something that we brought up at the bar.
Yeah.
When people, because you were saying it makes you uncomfortable when people compliment you.
Yes.
Can you
Oh, yeah.
talk about that? Because you're
Do
talking
you
about
also
how
feel that, or is that more me?
that was more you, but you also were talking about like how all of you have like master's degrees. You all are expressing
Very smart.
You're all expressing some
I
intelligence.
mean, we were sort of joking that we were like, oh, donor conceived people are really hot. And we were like, yes, when you think about
it's
it.
backhanded fucking compliment.
I mean, look, we are, but also really, really broken. Beyond that, I'm like, what was it? I was like, I feel weird, and people are like, oh, your eyes are really pretty, or your hair is really nice, or you have nice legs. And I'm like, were these traits that my parents picked out specifically from my donors?
They were. It was. You were complimenting things that were specifically purchased.
Yes, and it makes me so uncomfortable.
It's very. It's like It feels like a little too much of a tip of the hat to the like yes eugenics.
I feel like I mean, like, you know, the term designer baby is also used, and so I'm like,
yeah.
it seems like they're complimenting the designer.
Is this? Do you feel this way?
I guess I don't think about it as much. I think I didn't know prior.
I mean, you can place some of your traits as someone who raised you, so that's more of
It's
my
true.
thing. Where
It's
I'm like,
true.
because all of my traits,
Everything for you.
it's more of that. Where I'm like, nothing to
totally
me
get
feels
that.
original.
Yeah, that's
That's
rough.
sorry. Nothing
that-
about myself feels original.
But I think that is, but this is specifically why
Yeah.
when we do start really doing the academic studies on long-term side effects of donor conception,
Yeah.
why somebody who's double donor conceived really needs to be studied, because I do think that you are the, because there's so much about you that can really relate to the baby designer. And I think,
feel like a designer baby.
yeah.
I mean, I am a designer baby.
You are a
which
designer.
is, you know, just I feel so uncomfortable with that concept. Like I said, like when I was walking around,
it's
I'm like, I feel
eugenics. Yeah, it's because like
so
designer
eugenics.
baby is a euphemism in my opinion.
for eugenics.
For eugenics.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I feel less uncomfortable when people. I felt less uncomfortable when people would compliment certain traits of mine because I like didn't know prior to last year that. So I resemble our shared genetic parent.
You
So much.
Very,
I love
very
it.
closely.
Yeah.
I showed, we're not going to show the photo, but
No.
like you shared with me the photo of you next to your genetic parent. Is that how
Yeah,
what you
I know.
were-
We got down this road. Yeah, I think
we
that's what she. Yeah, that's what she
Yeah.
also said that she feels comfortable with. I always say biomom for shorthand because if I'm
quicker.
it's quicker. But like,
this isn't to also like I don't want to dismiss what your genetic parents' wishes are.
Yeah.
I will say as always, and like I don't know her. I don't remember her name right now. I'm just gonna
We'll say it later.
Well, we'll say we're
Not
I'm
on the
gonna, I'm
podcast.
gonna
Not
call,
on the podcast.
I'm gonna call you Morgan right now. Okay,
Yeah.
we're just her name's not Morgan, right?
No.
Okay, Morgan. I'm gonna call her Morgan right now. We're gonna call you Morgan, and it's like, and this isn't to dismiss Morgan. It's not to dismiss your feelings whatsoever, but for me, the donor conceived people have the smallest amount of agency.
Yes.
We are constantly told how we should feel.
Yep.
It is everybody's feelings before ours.
Yep.
So I appreciate and totally understand why Morgan is like, I don't feel comfortable being called mom by anyone else besides like like I get that.
Yeah.
But right now I'm interested in what you specifically as Alex, as a donor conceived person, not worrying about anybody else's feelings.
What do you want?
What do you want?
so
I'm sorry, Morgan. I am. But I am putting forward donor conceived feelings first before anyone else.
And
Which
you know
I
what?
think is important for advocacy.
And I do think it is important for advocacy, and it is the thing, and I forget, I believe I want to, I really don't want to credit, I really hope this is correct, but I believe that it was Aaron Jackson who said this, and I really hope that this was correct. But Aaron Jackson, I believe, said I mean, when we talk about someone who has spearheaded donor-conceived rights, you can't not say Aaron Jackson's name, who is like, We Are Donor Conceived, who headed those surveys and everything. Like, we owe Aaron Jackson so much.
Yeah.
But Aaron Jackson, I believe, was the one who said that donor-conceived people are, I'm going to totally butcher this and I apologize, Aaron, but essentially said something of the lines of donor-conceived people are expected to put everyone else's feelings before them.
You just named so much of my childhood trauma.
I believe, and again, if this wasn't Aaron, I feel so bad, but I'm pretty fucking sure this was Aaron.
Yeah.
I believe, and Aaron, if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, said, like, we are expected to put everyone else's needs before them. We did not choose this.
Yeah.
They chose this.
Yeah.
That's the other part.
And we have to put our feelings matter. And we no longer can... We no longer can shortchange ourselves for the comforts of others on a decision that they made.
Yeah.
So again, Morgan, I am so sorry, but what do you want to call?
Yeah. So I feel pretty. So we had a conversation with her about this after Rachel went on the podcast last time, and it's so cute because like she calls us like the French plural vous. Which is really cute.
What is that?
Like
French.
VOUS. It's just like the plural
just
for you. Yeah, it's like a French y'all.
Yeah.
And her husband calls us the huevos, which I also think is so sweet.
I think
Okay,
it's the
that's
funniest
actually
thing.
kinda
It's so cute.
Yeah.
The first time I met him, he like I went to their house last year and he greeted me and he says, "Hola, hueva." And I thought
that's actually really cute.
I thought it was the sweetest thing ever, and I'm pretty sure that he was like specifically told not to do that because it was like embarrassing or whatever. And I was like, no,
he's
this
great.
he's wonderful. I was like, this is so sweet.
Yeah.
And it just like,
And
such
this is Morgan's
husband. Yes.
I have to say, I appreciate this the fact that because so many times the donor's partners, husband, wife, partner, is like the one who is like, you will not speak to them.
Right?
And the fact that like, the fact that he was welcoming and sweet, that
he's
really
so
is very
nice.
touching.
Yeah.
Because that is rare. By the way, I know it's really warm in here. I'm going to open up the door really fast, so keep talking.
Yeah, you're good. I'm only dying because I'm wearing like a
it is quite warm.
sweaty thing.
We're going to open up the door.
Appreciate it.
No, I would say that
Ventilation.
Yay.
I feel pretty.
I don't want to overcook the eggs.
Oh gosh, don't want a soft boil or hard boiled.
Bye.
You're done, Laura. You're done.
I hate this.
So I would say that like I feel like linguistically we just kind of don't have the right words for it because like I don't particularly like any of the terms that exist already, which is like kind of why we created our own cutesy little ones.
Yeah.
I feel really passionately about not calling her my donor. Because
Because
she
she
did not
wasn't.
donate anything to me.
Legit.
And that is the only thing that I feel strongly about. And as long as we're not calling her that, I'm okay with like
Legit.
and like because I really care about our relationship, like and that's to me like that is putting my own needs first actually is like supporting the building of our relationship.
Your needs first.
Yeah.
But I also like just to remind all the listeners, like listening to like all the donor conceived people that we've had on here, you can kind of hear like the vast array of what really speaks to donor conceived people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just, and hearing your reasoning behind it, like that is so legitimate. Like I totally feel that. Now I personally don't share that. I'm more than fine calling my biological father the donor. I'm like, I don't give a shit. But I totally hear that, and that's so legitimate to me. But this is why you cannot put your own shit on to donor conceived people.
Yeah. Because
we all have and especially I do think our own experiences with the biological parents, the donors, is all very different. And I don't know, maybe how I refer to the donor in my case would be different is if I did have if I had a relationship with him, maybe that would change.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a dick, so I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Donor, I don't give a shit.
Right.
He was the seller.
Right. Yeah. And for me, like there's certain thing, and it's so funny. Like my therapist is definitely going to listen to this. She's wonderful.
Shout out to both of our therapists.
shout out to
who
both
listen
of
to
ours.
this podcast.
Can I? Should I name them something?
I
I mean,
We
you
already
can
named
first
mine.
names. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mine's Susan.
Mine's
Hi,
Amy.
Susan.
Susan and Amy.
Hi, Amy.
So she's
Wait, Amy brings you cookies, right?
No, that was the autism doctor.
Autism doctor. God damn it.
Sorry.
I have to schedule up my follow-up
you do.
appointment
Good.
Yes, no, because I had my initial consultation.
We will talk about that later.
Yes.
Are you gonna get a cookie too?
I would love a cookie. Okay, I mean, really, I'm going for the fucking cookies. Let's be honest.
That's not why I recommend them.
I hope they give you a cookie whether you
Whether
do
or
or do
not,
not
yeah.
screen for autism.
But I am. Well, I'm
Or whatever
gonna-
you're screening for.
I'm screening for ADHD and autism. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it's a fun time, isn't it?
It's a fun time and would answer a lot of questions. And we talked about, like, I was like, I've been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think that's all there. I think we got some other things cooking in there that are being rattling around.
Comorbid. That's what it's called when you have like
Comorbidities,
multiple
yeah.
things. Was I telling you about that? Where I was like, I feel weird being comorbid because it's like autism and ADHD and depression and anxiety and asthma.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's so funny. Like we were talking again about, and this is something that like I just have a lot of innate curiosity about medical research, and I think that like it's hard to draw any conclusions based on like there's a couple of big Facebook groups for donor conceived people and for families that are like in a number of different
By
families.
the way, if there's any donor conceived people who are listening who are like,
Yes.
I don't, what do you mean big Facebook
What's a
groups?
community?
What do you mean? Like, how can I get it? If you want those, I don't want to like publicly name them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I want to make sure that like we don't have like random Yahoos joining.
But they do exist.
But they do exist, and if
DM
you,
us.
honestly, you can DM me,
DM me.
DM
I can
us,
be DM'd, yeah.
and we will point you in the right direction as
Yep.
to where to go.
I
Yeah.
am connected with the USDCC also. So
Yes!
yeah.
Yes.
So we got connections. We know how to help.
Also, USDCC, United States Donor Conceived Council, they are a group of donor conceived people, recipient parents, donors, wonderful, wonderful people who write legislation for donor conceived people. They're just so great and wonderful. I fully support them with my whole heart and
Yep.
being. If you,
Again, not Spawn. We
if
just love
you-
them.
Yes, no, not sponsored. I mean, they're a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Specifically, if you are looking in this holiday season to maybe make a donation of some sort, I would really love to suggest that you donate to them.
Yep.
I would also love to do a shout out to DNA Angels.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
100%
yes, yes.
DNA Angels.
Who's another nonprofit agency who helps people find their biological parents, whether you're an adoptee, NPE, or a donor conceived person. If you want to find biological parents, they believe that like it doesn't matter what your financial situation is. They are like, we will help you find your family. But they also help find siblings.
Yep.
They've helped me out personally. I've referred them. They've helped me out with like cases that like we are bringing to the news media. Like these people are fucking legit and amazing. I adore them with my full soul. I I love them.
Yeah.
But in this holiday season, you specifically want to support donor conceived causes. DNA Angels and USDCC are two of the best organizations that I full-heartedly please go support them. But
It's like we're being the donor conceived elders that we want to see in the world. It's like
We
yeah,
have
like
to be.
yeah, it's true. And
we
Right?
and I feel bad because I'm just like, oh god,
It's
like
us.
it's us.
I feel like a superhero,
shit.
but like a really lame one.
I actually
We're
so
just like, this is my superpower and nothing else.
Eugenics.
I always so when we were talking about me doing the podcast, like I had thought about like I this is the first time that I've ever spoken like really. All of my friends know about this. This is like the coolest party story of 2022.
Cool
you know?
party story.
Oh.
Cool
You're
party oh fuck, I did. I'm
Jug it. Hang on.
I had a drip left. Well, I think with that, what I would love to switch over to is because we've now had the drinkage.
had the
We've now
drinkage.
completed. I would like Alex for you to go into detail on your discovery of you being donor conceived,
Yes.
finding your genetic parent by your
Yeah.
mom. I would love for you to go into it because It's fun.
It is
I like it.
And I also just I love I don't know if that's the right descriptor, but I do enjoy hearing how people find out how they were donor conceived, because all of our journeys are so fucking weird and different with it. And I think it's important for us all to hear that they're all goddamn weird and wacky.
Yeah. There's no two stories are alike.
Not at all.
But there's a lot in common. Like when you were first describing it to me, I was like, "Oh my god, me too!"
Yeah.
And it was a common. Like there is a lot of commonality.
Yeah, it's true.
So take it away.
You talk, I drink.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna sit and drink things.
Yeah.
I know when I
Story
first
time.
when I first met up with Laura after her comedy show, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the like.
Did I make
the
you
song.
laugh?
You did. You did make me
No
laugh.
pressure.
I just want to like make sure that like I mean you know.
I thought it was. I don't see a lot of comedy. I don't watch a lot of comedy, and I really enjoyed your set. So
It was great. Yeah.
Very topical for us too.
It was fun because like obviously I knew you two were coming to the show and it was an audience, and I obviously was like, all right, I'm gonna do my fucking donor conception set, and there was like a few, and like I literally told the audience, because it was a smaller audience, and I was like, all right, assholes, listen, I was like, I've got 2 donor conceived people right there, all right, listen,
These jokes are for them.
these jokes are for fucking them. I don't give a shit. None of you get these jokes. I don't give a shit.
Oh, we
This
were
is for them.
dying.
Well,
And
and there were like 3 emergency room doctors in there too, and so they're like they like fully understand like what that means, and then I think like the other couples were just like, what is going on?
Like,
and I was like, we are having an inside baseball moment right here, and you all are welcome to join us on our journey.
Come on in.
It is your choice. And I'm like, I'll do some fucking little crowd work shit to like make you all laugh and shit, but they are my people.
I appreciate you. You're great.
You're great. It's my favorite thing when I get donor conceived people in the audience.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't give up. And that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Is when I get to do my stand up for donor conceived people. It is my favorite thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
It is genuinely my favorite thing. You guys also saw my Catholic set of when I also went into my Catholic trauma. I also love doing that for former Catholics as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, there was like that one, the one of the
one
emergency-
Catholic. And it was just me and him looking at each other going like, ha. I see
game
it.
recognized game.
Game. I'm like,
Game
how's the
recognizes
self-loathing
game.
going?
Yes. Story time.
Okay,
Story time.
Story
Anyway.
time. So, so my whole story is that from, I would say, like, when I was about 5, like, when you start going to school and seeing your friends and their families together, I was just like, ooh, interesting. Like, it's kind of weird that I don't really, I don't really feel like my family looks like the other families. And that's compounded by the fact that
Do you not look like your raised mom? Your raising mom?
I think so. I would say that I look enough like both of my raising parents. My dad is, also my genetic biological dad.
Just to remind everybody, you are egg donor conceived.
Egg donor conceived. Yes. So my mom gestated me, birthed me, like breastfed me, all of that. Okay. But we're not genetically related.
And I don't want to like downplay that because a lot of people, I don't want to like that's huge. Like growing the child, everything.
Yeah.
Because and the reason I want to take a little pause is because a lot of people who I would say who are in your mom's position really feel like that isn't enough.
Oh my god, yeah, she did so. I mean, like,
and it's like, and the reason like I want to like sort of like flag that a little bit is for like the epigenetics purposes, because right now the fertility industry really pushes epigenetics onto.
What's that?
Oh, it's the difference between, so epigenetics is the idea that, to put it in kind of like layman's terms, is that there's environmental factors or other factors
nature
beyond,
versus nurture.
Well, it's beyond the genes that affect the way that genes are expressed. So that like there's like the thrifty phenotype. So there's an idea that like certain people are more prone to store energy, fat, based on like being in times of famine, and so they are more likely to express that gene than other people, so it gets triggered more easily, but they're not always going to express that gene. So that's all to say that, I guess in simple to understand terms, is that like the way that genes are expressed isn't consistent across all environments, and so like you could have and genes are complicated. It's usually like not one gene determines.
And we're still learning about genetics.
Yes.
But what's been happening is the fertility industry has sort of co-opted that, and so for like I would say moms like your mom who carried you, your raising mom, what they tell your raising mom is going like, you're carrying the baby. Your baby is absorbing.
We talked about this last time.
Yes,
Yeah.
And it's like, so, and what they've sort of used that as is a way to go like, is it okay if I touch your face for just a second?
Yeah.
Well, I always the fertility industry kind of is like, you're a genetic parent.
I have makeup on. I should have told you that. I didn't even know that. You're good. I just wanted to be like, what's on my hair?
Your skin is also extremely soft.
Ah.
Like that's what? Oh my god, a compliment! I'm so sorry.
No compliments.
I don't
know who that came from.
To be fair, I think that your soft skin comes from a very regimented skincare routine.
I have no skin care.
I was trying to give you an out.
I really appreciate that, but I have absolutely no skin care.
Your skin felt like skin. It felt like skin.
It was very skin.
You know who my skin is from? I don't.
Oh, Rachel, no.
Anyway,
the reason I want to say it is because so the fertility industry sort of uses epigenetics as a way to tell a lot of the gestational carriers if that's going to be typically like the social mom who might be carrying a egg donor conceived child be like, but you're a genetic parent because of epigenetics. Look at all the science. Like, look how much impact you're going to have. And what ends up happening is later down the line, as donor conceived advocates, we have to sit down with those parents and go, you're not a genetic parent.
Right.
And because they genuinely are convinced, I carried this child.
we are genetically linked.
I am genetically linked. And the thing is about it, like, and for me, it's very heartbreaking to hear because it's like, you fucking carried this kid. You grew
enough.
them. You birthed them.
That's enough.
That's fucking huge.
Dianu, man.
I'm like, and that, Dianu.
That's fucking huge.
Yeah.
You did that. It doesn't need more to make you more important.
Right.
And all it also does is imbue the fact of how important genetics are to you.
Yeah.
All it does is kind of, unfortunately, prove what we are like. We're how am I trying to say this?
It helps prove the point that like that the genetic connection is important. Like if you are saying if you're trying to assuage the
DNA doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You're saying it's important, but not to you.
And it's like, and here's the thing: DNA does matter, and DNA doesn't matter.
Yep.
Both are true. Both are very equally validly true.
Yep.
So for me, when I hear it's always like I want to like really empower the gestational carrier. Sorry, the
alcohol.
The gestational or that social parent who is carrying the child. It's like, what you did is huge.
Yes.
Like, you don't need to make it more important. Like, let that be. And if you color it with something that is not true, that is not helping you nor the child.
No, it's like a little like fantasy fairy tale. And like if my mom did I'm on 23andMe. If my mom did a 23andMe test, we would not come up in each other's results. There was no exchange of DNA between us when
Were you told that?
I was
Were
never
you,
told
like,
that. No,
okay.
I was too.
Some donor conceived people are.
Yeah, it was me. My science teacher in like middle school and high school. I asked my bio teacher, so I was like, "Surely you understand pregnancy?" And I don't. Shut up. I had no other option. And I went to rural New York. Okay, my options were limited. So I went to my bio teachers and I was like, "Look, when you like have a baby and the baby's in you, you don't exchange blood. You don't exchange anything." And they're like, "But you do."
I mean, your blood like flows together through. Like my mom's blood was what was like was helping grow me because it flows through the placenta. But like,
but you're not,
I was not.
like,
My cells do not have her.
it.
Yeah, you're not absorbing her blood.
Yes, I mean,
That's
like,
what they were stuck on.
Yeah,
no. I mean, like, it's not going to. You are not going to be a genetic parent, but that like
you're a parent.
But obviously, what you are eating, their blood and everything absolutely does fuel and help grow, and that's huge and that's big, and like let's not like downplay that significant importance.
Yeah.
But I also I want to empower those parents to like. You don't need to make it more than what it is.
Right, exactly.
It already is incredible and amazing. And to me, like, I hate to sound so like super like not superficial, but like cheesy, but it's like pregnancy is incredible.
Exactly.
Like the fact that you did that is incredible. Like you are a fucking superhero. Like we don't need to downplay that.
Yeah.
Here, I was gonna show you. This is. I know this is not for, but that's my. Those are my parents. They're very cute.
They're very, very cute. But yeah, I can totally like you.
Yeah.
I would not immediately connect you and your mom. Like if I saw you two walking down the street, it would not immediately connect.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where it is. Yeah.
And like same like my dad and I, we all, you know, we're all at least part Jewish, and I think like we all look enough alike that it wasn't like this is for sure, you know, not right. But I definitely had a feeling where I was like, ooh, this is like, you know, I was like, that's so weird that like I can like look at my friends and understand like parts of them that came from their parents. And it's compounded by the fact that I have a half sister from my mom's first marriage. So my dad is her stepdad. We share a mom, and she has a dad. And that I've known.
Is that half sister biologically related to your mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And she's 12 and a half years older than me. So I grew up in like a semi-blended family. She lived with us. She was raised, she, you know, is my sister. We were not raised as half sisters. She's my sister. But I knew that she had her own dad. Like this was not I don't remember learning about that part of her. And so that was just kind of always a fact. So I knew that like I had a non-traditional family structure from the beginning. Again, this was the 90s. So like, you know, not quite as many non-traditional families as we see now. And yeah, I started going to school and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. So strange. And then when I was 12, I had my tonsils and adenoids out and I got my blood typed. And I can only imagine that I, at that point, was very curious and like very sus. You know, I definitely knew something was up because I got a copy of this is like what I got a copy of my post-op report, and again I'm 12, I'm in 7th grade, and read it.
What a nerd.
And I looked at and again I must have known that something like why would I have asked this question. I looked at my blood type and I saw what type it was, and I asked
what's your blood type?
I think it's A.
Are you A positive?
I don't know if I'm positive or negative, but I know that
Ben and I are both A something. So
yeah,
so
I knew that it wasn't O, which is the relevant information here.
Yeah.
So I asked my dad, I asked my mom, what's your blood type? And she said O. And I asked my dad, what's your blood type? And he said, oh, I'm O. And at that point in my little science curriculum, I had known, I knew that O is a recessive trait and that it's not possible for two O parents to have an A child. And
I do want to just point this out. This is where a lot of donor conceived people figure it out. Because I've spoken
science class.
It is honestly
Punnett squares.
because I've spoken to donor conceived people who have red hair. And neither of their parents do.
Yep.
And they figure it out in biology class when they're starting to study recessive genes.
Yep.
This is where a lot of donor conceived people figure it out.
It's all middle school.
it's it's a tough time to begin with, right? Because you're 12 and like you're going
the blood types is where a lot of people figure it out. It's like because the blood types don't fucking lie.
Yeah.
And it is very. This is a common thing that I hear from donor conceived people.
Yeah, and like there were other things, like I'm much lighter colored than my parents, so I have hazel-ish eyes and lighter brown hair and very, very pale skin, and my parents are much tanner than I am.
I will say, I think like our skin type is like we the three of
White.
us. Yeah, I mean,
Super white. This is me tan.
I refer to our
Skim milk blue.
Yeah, I'm like flip.
Yeah, no, I jokingly refer to my skin type as cadaver, or my Crayola color is ghost.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is definitely me tan because I spend a lot of time outside. I live in California. And yeah, so I was already sus. I was like, that's, you know, but eye color is a complicated, it's like a multi-gene expression, but blood type is not complicated. And so I'm 12, it's 2004, and my first thought is I was switched at birth. I was like, there's no other explanation for this.
I thought I was switched at birth as well. Yeah. I was, because for me, I saw the pictures of my mom pregnant.
Yes.
And I saw the pictures of her, like she has pictures of like right after post-birth.
Yeah.
So I was like, I knew I wasn't adopted. Yeah. But I was like, something, I was like, am I switched at birth? Like, I knew something was up. And I do think that, again, donor conceived, and it's not everybody. Some donor conceived people are genuinely shocked, and I don't want to like downplay that.
Oh, no.
But there is so many donor conceived people who swear they're like, I knew something was up. I was switched. I was adopted. I was maybe my parent had an affair.
Yeah.
Like they know something is up.
It's so funny because I never thought that like my parents are very devoted to each other, and they've now been together for I think about 40 years, and
Cute.
it never once.
Amazing.
I know, and yeah, shout out to my parents. They're wonderful.
Shout out, parents.
Love you guys. And never once did it in this whole time did it occur to me that one of them had been unfaithful. And I had seen,
That's good.
Yeah, it's great. It's like wonderful,
delightful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So it really speaks to a testament to their marriage and their partnership. And I had seen, like you, I had seen photos of my mom pregnant with me. I had seen photos of me like, you know, bright red just out of the womb. And then we had a ton of photos for me in the hospital. And I had this one baby album, and it has Peter Rabbit on the front. It says baby book on it. And like it, like I've looked at it since. But I used to at night after my parents went to sleep, sit there and look at photos. I would like take them out of the sleeves,
The little sleeves.
and look
Yeah.
at photos of me like fresh out the womb versus like 3 days into the hospital and say like, when did it happen? I was so,
How
I mean,
old were you?
it was between the ages of 12 and 18. I was doing this regularly. And that, like, I think about how often I looked at that album, like, after my parents had gone to sleep. And I've told them this since then. So, again, this isn't a surprise to them. And we've talked about a lot
Yeah.
of this. But, like, that was to, like, have that preoccupation through those years where it's so, they're such identity forming years.
Yeah.
And on
They're
top of,
formative years.
I was going
They're
to say
really
you were a
formative.
child.
I was literally a child.
You were a child.
And on top of that, for whatever reason, like I felt like I had to keep this a secret from my parents because I knew that something was wrong, but it's a crazy accusation to make. Or like,
Yeah.
huge thing to act, but you know something is off.
Yeah.
and I knew that I wasn't at
know
least
something's off.
one of their kids, and I assumed that I wasn't either of their kids. So for me, it wasn't like I grew up thinking that my, you know, like I was one of their biological children, and so I, you know, aligned myself with my dad, who is, you know, my genetic parent. It was like I thought that I wasn't related to either of them, and so I was moving through the world under that assumption again from the ages of 12 to 18, which are 6 really big years.
It's
and
very traumatic to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
those
tough
are
way to navigate.
Formative years.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, there's reasons why, like, we have therapists who like specialize in trauma of those years.
Yeah.
because
That's why I've been in therapy since the age of 12.
I mean, again, shout out to
Honestly,
Susan. Like,
yeah, shout out to Susan and Amy. Thank you so much.
Amy's known me since the age of 11. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's like, if I think about the trauma that was like some of the most impactful trauma, between those ages.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Facts.
because those are some fucking weird years.
I mean, puberty, right? Like, we
Yeah,
were talking
yeah.
Weird years.
We were talking about like how being like not related to my mom during puberty really showed.
Yes.
Did you have that?
I do have that. Yeah, my mom and my sister definitely had like similar experiences going through puberty, and they were
Yeah.
really different from mine.
Yeah.
And I think that like there's like little things where I'm like, oh my god, I wish that like a parent had known how to handle this. And like for me, the kind of lighthearted funny one is that like my mom did not know how to handle my hair, because my mom does not have this
The hair.
This hair.
I literally, I mean, right now, because of, again, trauma, my hair is straightened, essentially. But my hair is not as, you have a little bit more of a structured curl
Yeah.
than I do. My hair's a little bit more, I would say, frizzy. But I had the same problem. I was the only one with that hair texture within my family. And that was extremely, I would say, again, I've been traumatized. I
It's a
don't
weird
let
thing
my
to
hair
think about, though, unless you're in this situation.
It is, and I know it sounds so stupid, but it was like I was bullied for my hair.
Oh.
Not just and it was like my hair was a topic of conversation in my family all the fucking time.
Oh,
Wow.
Because everyone in my family has perfectly pin straight hair. I was the only one
one.
with anything.
oh, interesting.
So, like, I had, like, very close to your hair, a little bit more, but so, like, it was brushed out constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I would say that the embracing of curls is like also just topically more common now than it was in
is.
like the 90s was
It
like
is.
a time of
And I
like
love
everything.
seeing that.
Me too.
I'm not there yet within my trauma. I'm, like, not there yet.
I'll take you to the right salon if you want.
I
Yeah.
mean, I
got
need
you.
to
I'll
go
be
to
your
the
I'll
right
be your
salon.
curly
Yeah.
sister.
I mean, I love the person who styles my hair, but
Yeah.
it's like I should try, but it's like, ooh, that
when
is,
you're ready, Laura, I got
that
you.
is hitting I mean, Laura with any form of body dysmorphia is like,
Oh, I'd drink to that if I had anything.
that one, and I consider the hair with the body dysmorphia as well.
Hair's a part of your body.
It's a
Yeah,
part
exactly.
of it. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
that's where we're hitting the not to trigger everybody here.
Sorry.
But that hits the eating disorders. That
Yeah.
is, it's like blah, blah, blah. But
You're
anyway,
hitting all my
Anyway,
things, too.
anyway,
Yeah, so we were all depressed during puberty. Yeah.
So I wouldn't even say that I was depressed. I was just like confused. I was preoccupied with this, and it was not something that I thought about every single day, but it is something that was like simmering under the surface for 6 years, and I think I told maybe like my best friend about this, and really nobody else except for my my high school AP bio teacher. Shout out to Miss Merrill.
Hi, Miss Merrill.
Hi, Miss Merrill. So she'll come back later in the story, but I had my 7th grade bio revelation with blood types, and then took bio in 9th grade.
and you
then
just kind of sat with that.
I sat with that, yeah, and I didn't say anything to my parents because I was like, this is going to literally rip my family apart. Like I'm my parents' only child, right? And I was like, I cannot drop this bomb.
So you, as a 12-year-old?
As a 12-year-old.
You are like, because you have the blood type proof, and you're like, I was switched at birth, and you're holding on to this to protect your parents?
Yes.
Oh,
That's heavy for a 12-year-old.
Yes.
Like, you are
I want to hug her inner child.
I
Like
know.
inner children hug, you know?
But honestly, I do want to like point out the fact that so many donor-conceived people actively make choices like that to protect their parents. It always drives me crazy when everybody's like, you fucking donor conceived people, you want to only get money from your donors, you just want to create drama.
Yeah.
So many fucking people.
I know. I think it's nuts.
That's
another drink.
That's another drink. But it's like, also, I have never heard genuinely of a donor conceived person finding out they're donor conceived, actively trying to track down their donor for money.
Never.
I've never. Now, maybe that has happened. Maybe that has.
If it has, it's an all flyer.
It is.
Yeah, it's definitely an outlier. Yeah.
We would have heard. I've genuinely never, in any of the groups that we belong into, that's never come into question. And I know anybody from our groups would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
what
would
do you
you
what's
want-
your,
what
yeah,
are
what's
you
your
doing?
aim here? Go
Don't fucking do that.
Yeah, if you're gonna hit anybody up, hit up like the
Hit up
fertility
the
industry.
fertility industry. Like, I've
Yeah.
never heard of that
No,
happening.
I don't know where they get that from. Anyway,
But I do think that, but again, it speaks to, because all I really genuinely know of donor conceived people is genuinely, on the whole, trying to be as compassionate as possible to their families and being like, I am going to take the weight of this on so that my parents don't feel bad.
Yes.
I hear that the most out of anything. So with that, I just want donor conceived people like, you're fucking heard, you're valid, you're
Yes.
seen.
we're gonna help shoulder it.
We're gonna,
Yeah, it's a burden that we all get to shoulder now. And like,
We all get to shoulder.
Yeah.
So please
So-
continue on your venture.
so I say to I like hadn't brought it up in like recent memory, I guess. And then I said we were doing blood typing as a unit in AP bio, and I said to my bio teacher, and she was like, she's very cool. She's like the cool teacher. Everybody loves her.
I love that.
Yeah. And I was like, Miss Merrill, you will never, but this is so freaking crazy. But like this thing happened when I was 12 where like I'm type A and my parents are both O. Isn't that wild? And she's just like, LOL, you're probably adopted, because she knew that I wasn't. And just like, it was like a throwaway comment, and I was like, ha ha ha. So funny.
She had no idea what she did.
She had no idea. Yeah.
I will say to the teachers out there, be careful with that one.
Yeah.
Be careful. There's way more of us than I
students-
think you think there.
I mean, yeah, no, like if students come to you and are like, something's weird with my Punnett square or my DNA.
Handle that carefully.
I mean, like, to be
Yeah.
fair, like, she, like, how do you, anyway.
Well, and at the same, like, there's no way, like, I don't fault her, because I think, like,
No.
it's now become much more, like, we are now becoming much more aware.
Yeah.
But, like, when you were in there, it was, like, no one would have, like,
That wasn't a
considered this.
thing.
No, absolutely
No.
not. And so I'm like vibing through senior year of high school. I graduate. I'm getting ready. I'm a huge nerd. I went to college the summer before my freshman year to take some classes to get ahead.
I love that for you.
I love that. I love it so much.
Instead of like staying home and partying with my friends, I was like, no, I'm going to go do school. And so I signed up. I moved up to Massachusetts where I went to school, and I signed up to take a class called Genetics, Ethics, and the Law, which was being taught by an amazing professor. And she was, again, like very, very cool. It was a pretty casual environment. And the first lesson that we were learning was about assisted reproductive technology and the legal implications around it, the ethics around it. And I was like, wow.
I love that class existed.
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the school that I went to had an experimental college that taught like a lot of interdisciplinary classes. And it's also a very civically minded, ethically minded school. So. Yes. And so I am in this class and I go up to her. I was like, I'm going home this weekend. And my mom was pretty old when she had me. I'm just going to ask her about it. Like, so interesting. I bet she had to use fertility drugs. And she was like, oh, yeah, totally. Report back. And I was like, great. So I
How old were you again?
18. So this is
After
my first
6 years.
Yeah, so it's been 6 years.
That.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I go home. I'm, home for a long weekend, and I'm, of course, I think a lot of people will relate to this, regardless of like whether it's donor conceived stuff or other stuff. We're in the car.
I was told in the car as well.
Car confessional.
Car confessionals.
I do car confessionals. I don't receive car
No,
confessionals.
this was.
Oh,
That's how I came out to my parents.
was in the car? Were you
Yeah.
driving or passenger?
My mom was driving on the highway, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, I have a girlfriend."
I love that for you.
I'm
Wait,
like,
and you did that on the highway?
Yeah. No.
You gotta do that in a place where they can park.
Rachel's like, I'm not giving her.
I'm not giving her the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, so
you
we
in the car.
were in the car. We were not on the highway.
not
We were
on
in
the
a place
highway.
that we could
I
park.
love that, by the way, so much.
Yeah.
I also think, if I remember correctly, I think, do you all follow drag queens?
Yeah.
Trixie Mattel?
I do know of Trixie Mattel.
Trixie, I think, came out to her brother in the car.
That's cute. Yeah.
I think as well.
Car confessionals.
As being also in the passenger seat. If I remember her story correctly.
Yeah.
I
You don't
believe-
drive when you confess.
No. And car
No,
confessional.
that seems like dangerous.
That's what I'm saying. You got to do it as a passenger.
Car confessional is great because you the person can't leave, and also like you can't make eye contact. So
They're trapped.
They're trapped. They have to hear you out.
They trap, but as somebody who hates who can't do eye contact, again, we're working on the
As
autism
someone who,
diagnosis.
I was gonna say, as someone who is autistic and cannot do eye contact.
Okay, I have a question for you because for me, with eye contact, it's overstimulating. I mean, I'm trying right now really hard to do eye contact with both of you, but it hurts. It physically hurts.
I
You don't
mean,
have to make eye
here's
contact
my
with me.
thing. We don't have to make eye contact if it makes you uncomfortable, number one. Number
I try
two,
really hard because I know that that's a polite thing to do with like society.
I don't care.
But like it physically hurts me.
I have been yelled at by people to look at them in the eyes when I talk to them. And then I also took communications classes in undergrad. So I was taught nonverbal communication, which I joke is a masking class. And so I literally just got taught how to connect nonverbally with people.
Wait, that's so funny.
This is a communications class at New Paltz.
I needed that
I took
class.
I took two. I took interpersonal and nonverbal communication, and I got 100 in both.
Wow.
And then I was like, yes, I did great at communicating. I'm not autistic. A+.
Oh my god. that should have been the first time. You being like A+
That's
and
another
not being
episode.
But so I mean,
Go back to your thing. So wait, you go home, you're in the car with your mom. We need to do this.
I know. So we're
but
really
again,
Jeremy Bearming.
I love the car confessionals because I don't have to make eye contact.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am just like doing so well in this. I can look at the sky. This is amazing. This doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Makes me so as the resident I get the resident non-autistic person. I'm still like I don't.
You're under the umbrella.
I'm
not official.
I'm not official.
Yeah.
But I'm in the process.
You're on the way.
The train has left. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say I'm like 99% sure about the ADHD, and I'm like 75% about the autism.
Yeah.
I'm pretty like that. That's where I fall.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I thought I was. I remember going to my mom. I want to say 10 years ago going, Mom, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. I need to get, like, this has been rattling
This is
around.
a long thing.
This has been a long
Yeah.
fucking
Not
thing.
just like TikTok telling you.
I will say TikTok did go, like, I think the ADHD is real, but the autism has been there pre-TikTok.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'm pretty fucking sure about this one. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway,
Again, ADHD. Sorry.
So we're in the car, and I think this is going to be a lighthearted conversation. I don't think I anticipated that we were like going to open up this can of worms, but I say to my mom, I was like, hey Mom, you were like in your mid 40s when you had me. Did you have to use fertility drugs? And I had like never asked her this before, I guess, which is like kind of wild because I was like very precocious. My parents used to call me smart Alec, and I would say, no, I'm a smart Alex. And I didn't even.
Cute. That is really cute.
Yeah.
I'm a smart Alex.
Yeah, which is like the word. Like I was like such a little shit.
Yes.
Like I was just like I was very precocious.
Okay, that should be the merch.
I'm a smart Alex.
I'm not a smart Alec. I'm a smart Alex.
That's my personal brand.
That is your brand.
Unfortunately for everyone around me, that is my brand.
But that's your production. But that's your production company, Smart Alex.
Smart Alex.
Yeah.
Right. So we're in the car. I ask her that, and she's like, she kind of like was doing the thing where you're like trying to pay attention to the road, but like also kind of like look over. And she's like, yes, of course I did. And I was like, okay. And then she goes, I will never forget this, like verbatim. She goes, any other questions? And I said, I don't know. Should there be?
And that is where we are cutting the episode. Part 2 will be available next Wednesday. I'm so sorry to leave you all on a cliffhanger, but I had to save some more juicy stuff for part 2. Thank you again so much for listening to Insemination. Please like, share, repost, I don't know, do all the things with the podcast. It really helps us out. Please follow me on social media at Laura High Five. Send in your questions. Who do you want to hear from on Insemination? Who have I missed? We've got so many amazing episodes coming up, but I want to hear from you all as to who you want to hear from. Let's get the answers that you all need. Let's get the interviewees that you all want. Thank you again. My name is Laura High. This turkey baster baby is signing off.